Jaya Vishnupad Paroham Surguchaya Sota Sata Shishmachila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Kodi Vaishnava Vrinda ki Shri Rup Shri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Saraghunath Sara Goswami Prabhu ki Jai Prem se ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivajari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopa Govinacham Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana ki Vrindavan Dham ki Mathura Dham ki Mayapur Dham ki Jagadambari Dham ki Tulsi Maharani Bhakti Devi ki Ganga Yamuna Devi ki Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki Sri Sri Gonitay ki Sri Sri Krishna Balaram ki Sri Sri Radha Shama Sundar ki Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Reading from the Bhagavad-Gita as it is, 18th chapter, text number 47 or 63, or that was iti te jñānam ākhyātam guhyāt guhya-taraṁ mayā vimṛśyaitad aśeṣeṇa yathecchasi tathā kuru iti te jñānam ākhyātam guhyāt-taram mayā vimṛśyaitad aśeṣeṇa yathecchasi tathā kuru iti te jñānam ākhyātam guhyāt-taram mayā vimṛśyaitad aśeṣeṇa yathecchasi tathā kuru
jñānam ākhyātam guhyāt-taram mayā vimṛśyaitad aśeṣeṇa yathecchasi tathā kuru iti te jñānena saṅkhāya yathā guhyāt-taram mayā vimṛśyaitad aśeṣeṇa yathecchasi tathā kuru iti te jñānam ākhyātam guhyāt-taram mayā vimṛśyaitad aśeṣeṇa yathecchasi tathā kuru
iti thus te unto you jñānam knowledge ākhyātam, described. Guhyāt, then confidential. Guhya-taram, still more confidential. Mayā, by me. Vimṛśya, deliberating. Etat, on this. aśeṣeṇa, fully. Yathā, as. Icchasi, you like. Tathā, that. Kuru, perform. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. Thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. Purport. The Lord has already explained to Arjuna the knowledge of Brahma Bhuta. One who is in the Brahma Bhuta condition is joyful. He never laments nor does he desire anything. That is due to confidential knowledge. Krishna also discloses knowledge of the Super Soul. This is also Brahman knowledge, knowledge of Brahman, but it is superior. Here the words yathecchasi tathā kuru, as you like you may act, indicate that God does not interfere with the little independence of the living entity. In Bhagavad-Gita, the Lord has explained in all respects how one can elevate his living condition. The best advice imparted to Arjuna is to surrender unto the Super Soul seated within his heart. By right discrimination, one should agree to act according to the order of the Super Soul. That will help one become situated constantly in Krishna consciousness, the highest perfectional stage of human life. Arjuna is being directly ordered by the personality of Godhead to fight. Surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is in the best interest of the living entities. It is not for the interest of the Supreme. Before surrendering, one is free to deliberate on this subject as far as the intelligence goes. That is the best way to accept the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such instruction comes also through the spiritual master, the bona fide representative of Krishna. Om jñānatimirandasya jñānam janasalakaya chaksuranmilitam yanam tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Saparantigam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Uttapada Kamalan Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sirupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadaitam Savadutam Parjana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakandvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sudhe Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyahevacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Iti te jñānam ākhyātam guhyat-taram mayā vimṛśyaitad aśeṣeṇa yathecchasi tathā kuru. Thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. Krishna very mercifully is giving transcendental knowledge to Arjuna, and as a matter of fact to all the conditioned souls. Arjuna is already a devotee of the Lord. He's already surrendered to Krishna. But he's put an instrument so that the Gita, the Bhagavad-Gita, can be received by the conditioned souls. So here, in this verse, is explaining that I have given you this knowledge, and jñānam. So I have described jñānam, this knowledge. First of all, as Prabhupada is explaining about Brahma Bhuta, Brahman realization, the impersonal aspect of the Absolute Truth, which is part of the Absolute Truth, but it is not the last word in the Absolute Truth. But not everyone is able to immediately appreciate the personal conception of the Absolute Truth. Therefore, the impersonal concept has been also mentioned. And then about the Super Soul, so that is more confidential knowledge, that the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart as a Super Soul. Of course, even the universal form is explained in the Bhagavad-Gita, so that one can see Krishna everywhere, and by his different elements or energies. So that is a help so that we may see Krishna everywhere, indirectly and then ultimately directly also. So it is a gradual process. One cannot suddenly become Krishna conscious, fully Krishna conscious. But one is adopting the process, following the process as given by Krishna or his representative, the spiritual master. Then slowly but surely one can advance more and more. So especially Krishna is speaking also about his own self, that is the Supreme Lord, and then he's also indicating that one should surrender to him. But then he's mentioning, as in this verse here, that yathecchasi, yathā iccha. So, as you like. In other words, Krishna is not forcing anyone to surrender unto me. It is not by force. But he's giving the choice to the living entity. And Prabhupada is mentioning that God does not interfere with the little independence of the living entity. So little independence, that means by nature we are always subordinate to Krishna and ultimately to the internal energy, the Lord's potency, Yoga Maya, Atma Maya, Sarup Shakti. But we have a little independence, and that is, so we can choose either to serve Krishna or to be independent of Krishna. But even if one is thinking, well, why I should surrender to Krishna, let me be independent. But that is not possible, because if one is not serving Krishna, then one is forced to be under the influence of the external energy. But always there's some freedom there to act in a certain way. And so that is the little independence. So the right use of the independence, that is, if one is choosing to serve Krishna. And usually also as Krishna wants, as it is mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion, Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana-karmanavritam anukulyana Krishna anushilanam bhakti-yoga. That is the highest form of devotional service, uttam bhakti. When one is doing what Krishna wants, that which is favorable, for Krishna's pleasure, not for my pleasure. So that is ultimately to be achieved, that stage, that one will do everything for Krishna's pleasure. That is pure devotional service. And but even in that realm, so if one is engaged in devotional service, not everyone is able to fully surrender immediately. So then one may still have some material desires, and one may even understand that actually I should not desire anything for myself. But to give up completely everything immediately is not easy. So therefore, we may do gradually also. And if one is, like the conditioned soul, is deciding not to serve Krishna, but to act independently, so one has also some little freedom, one can act in a certain way. For example, if one wants to go somewhere, he can choose where he wants to go. Somebody wants to go for vacation, wherever he is. So from here, you may want to go to South India or to North India, so you have some choice. But that is also limited. And somebody wants to become rich, and he may try hard, but if he has not acted piously in the previous life, then he may not become rich. So the independence is small. And then one is forced to act in a certain way also. But ultimately, so it is expected, because it is the nature of the Supreme Lord, so He is very merciful, and so He will try to help the conditioned soul, but the conditioned soul, he has to try to take the help from the Supreme Lord. And so he has to endeavor to be engaged in devotional service, and then Krishna will help. So by nature, Jiveswarupaya Krishnera Nityadas, the living entities are eternal servants of Krishna. So they are meant to serve Krishna. And when they are serving Krishna, as Krishna wants, then the Supreme Lord will be satisfied, and the jiva, the living entity, will be satisfied also. So Prabhupada is explaining also that it is for the interest of the living entity, for the best interest of the living entity, to abide by the orders of the Supreme Lord, to surrender to the Supreme Lord. to Krishna. And then Prabhupada is writing, it is not for the interest of the Supreme. Krishna is Surat, is completely independent. And Atmaram, Aptakam, he is fully self-satisfied. He doesn't need our service. And if we try to satisfy Krishna, so ultimately, so Krishna will accept, but it is not that he is in need of that. He is fully independent and he can do whatever he wants and he is always satisfied. But it is for our interest to serve Krishna, because then we are properly situated. So very clearly it is mentioned in the Bhagavad-Gita. So the process is given directly by Krishna to his friend, to his devotee Arjuna. And in this sense also, so the knowledge is given to us. So by reading the Bhagavad-Gita, we are directly in touch with the Supreme. We can hear from Him. But usually, because in a conditioned state, one is not able to fully understand what is mentioned here, what Krishna is telling here. So therefore we need the help of the spiritual master. One needs a personal guide in one's spiritual life in order that one can advance nicely, more rapidly. Without the help of the spiritual master, it will be difficult. Because in conditioned life, so one is under the influence of the modes of material nature. So when the mode of goodness is there, one can more easily understand the knowledge which is explained here. One will understand what to do and what not to do. But if the mode of passion is there, then it will be more difficult. And if the mode of ignorance is there, then it is there is almost no chance of understanding. So therefore, we have to take shelter of the spiritual master who is transcendently situated. And he can help us to be properly engaged, in devotional service. He will help us to be in the mode of goodness and ultimately to transcend the modes of material nature. So therefore, Prabhupada is mentioning in the last line that these instructions which are mentioned here, so they are directly given by Krishna to Arjuna, and we may get some benefit. But then Prabhupada is mentioning such instruction comes also through the spiritual master, the bona fide representative of Krishna. So the instructions are there directly given by Krishna. These are therefore Prabhupada is writing Bhagavad-Gita as it is. So, spoken in Sanskrit, but in order to understand, so one may have to know Sanskrit, which is not so easy to learn, Prabhupada used to say, and it is actually true that it will take some time. Prabhupada used to say 12 years in order to very nicely master Sanskrit. Of course, those who are very intelligent, they may learn faster. And Sri Jiva Goswami has given also one book, Harinam Vyakaran. How Krishna actually in the center of this book, how to see everything related to Krishna. So how to in this way learn Sanskrit. Whereas there's another book by one Sanskrit scholar, Panini. So that is usually by the common man in India. So they usually learn Sanskrit from the book by Panini. Whereas the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, so they will take shelter of Jiva Goswami's book, Harinam Vyakaran, and that by doing that one may more easily learn Sanskrit and with Krishna in the center. And then one may very nicely understand the Bhagavad-Gita also, the verses from the Bhagavad-Gita. But not everyone has the time or the intelligence and the patience to learn Sanskrit. So therefore Prabhupada translated, very nicely translated as it is. Of course, with the help of the previous acharyas like Baladev Vidyabhushan, who gave a commentary also of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So then the words are, the Sanskrit is very nicely presented, so that anyone so can get benefit. And Prabhupada had his disciples translate in so many languages, in almost all the languages. So in the world that has been translated, the Bhagavad-Gita. And therefore there are so many devotees all over the world who are now reading Bhagavad-Gita, who are understanding, and they are serving Krishna. So one thing is the verse, but then so Prabhupada has given the purport also, so that we, and he has more clearly or elaborated on the verse for our understanding. So the purport is there. And so by reading then this purport, then we can better understand the verse. And then one can, as Krishna is saying, so we can deliberate on this fully. So one has to think about this subject matter. Deliberation. So that means one is hearing, but one should not only hear, but then one should think about that also, the subject matter. And then one should try to apply in our life whatever is mentioned here. So one is hearing, that is called the Shravan Dasha. One is hearing, the platform of hearing. So we have to hear. But then also the next stage is explained, that is known as Varan Dasha. One has to accept it. Accept in our heart. So by attentively hearing and then deliberating on the subject matter, so we take it to heart. We apply in our life. And then from that comes Vigyan, the realization. We will get realization. Practical realization of the subject matter. And then we are properly situated and we can advance further and further. So we have heard that we are not this body, we are spirit soul. But then we have to deliberate on that. And then we have to engage in devotional service, as explained also by Krishna to Arjuna and the Acharya Srila Prabhupada. Surrender unto Krishna. So Krishna is saying, but he's not forcing, he's saying it is your choice. I'm suggesting to you that you should do as I wish, as I want you to do, like the fighting, for this example here in Bhagavad-Gita. So he saw his superiors, Dronacharya, Bhishmadev, Kripacharya, and so he didn't want to fight. But then Krishna spoke to him and explained to him. Very nicely explained to him why he should now fight. Because it is your nature, he told Arjuna. And because it is for the right cause. But then he was not forcing him. He was telling him, you deliberate, you think about it, and then you do as you want to do. Krishna is not forcing anyone to serve him, but is giving the knowledge, and then is giving the jiva the choice. You can do as you like. And those who are intelligent, who are using the little independence properly, they will think about it, and then they will serve Krishna, they will surrender to Krishna. And then they are benefited. They can realize the subject matter. And then, when they are properly situated, they can help others also. So one should try to be properly situated, and not only have the theoretical knowledge, but we should apply in our life. So we deliberate on the subject matter, and then we engage in devotional service, and then we can have practical realization. And then we are fully engaged in the devotional service, and then we can help others. So 3 stages are explained here, as also in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is explained that the transcendental is the understanding that 3 subject matters are there of the absolute truth. Brahman parametviti bhagavaditi shabdyate vidanta tat tattva vidam tattvam yajñānam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. So the learned sages, they have ascertained that there are 3 aspects of the absolute truth. Brahman, the impersonal aspect of the absolute truth, the localized aspect of the super soul living in everyone's heart, and then the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And most superior, of course, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and is actually the source of everything, as Krishna had explained earlier, that I am the source of the Brahman, I am the source of the Brahmajyoti, and also of the super soul who is situated in everyone's heart. And so if one is realizing then that fact, then one is properly situated. So the devotee is the best of all yogis. Is properly situated in devotional service. And then he will be satisfied, and he is able to help others also. Truly, he can help others. And everyone who is engaged in devotional service, then they should try to help others also. Sarva bhutehi te rataha, that is a Vaishnava, is always thinking not only about the Supreme Lord and himself and his relationship, but is thinking about the others, the other living entities, the conditioned souls, and is helping them also. By giving knowledge, or if they are not able to understand or to listen, then he will give prasad. So therefore Prabhupada, he wanted the devotees to distribute the holy names, distribute the transcendental books and knowledge, and then give prasadam also. So in this way then the conditioned soul, they can become attracted. So if one is very much conditioned, then the only chance is the prasadam. By giving prasadam, then, because everyone needs to eat, and everyone usually likes to eat also, and then when they take nice prasadam, then they can, because it is not ordinary food, it is sanctified, it is offered to the Supreme, it becomes transcendental. So it is attractive, just like Krishna. Prasadam is not different from Krishna. It is transcendental because it is offered to Krishna. It is tasted by Krishna. So it becomes very attractive. Whereas if it is not offered, then it may have some taste, but it is not so, it is not purifying and it is not attractive as Mahaprasad. You may go outside if you are hungry, you want some rice, dal, sabji, chapati, you can go to so many shops outside, but they will not prepare with devotion, they will not offer to Krishna. So that is ordinary food stuff. It may have some taste if the cook is good, if the ingredients are good. But if you have done Mahaprasadam, because the devotees are preparing with love and offering with love, and then it is accepted by Krishna, and it is very, very tasty, attractive. So there is a big difference, and devotees, they can experience that. So we are very fortunate that we are situated in Krishna consciousness, that we are engaged in devotional service. And so we should try to help others also, by giving books, by giving knowledge, and by giving prasadam to others. And then we can advance further. Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad-Gita at the end that one who is giving the knowledge to others is most dear to me. There's no one more dear to me than him. And the more we serve Krishna, the more there will be reciprocation. The more we will feel blissful. Even if one is already liberated, then still the loving exchange is continuing and the transcendental bliss is increasing more and more. And then one will be able to better help others also. The more we are advanced, the better we can help others. Because then we will have experience and we can share the experience. And then also by prayers, we can help others. So the devotees is serving Krishna and then is praying also to the Lord that may I be able to help others to advance in Krishna consciousness. And so Krishna is reciprocating. So the direct relationship is there with Krishna. It is there permanently. We have a direct relationship with Krishna, but in the conditioned state we are not aware. But by surrendering to Krishna, with the help of the spiritual master, then slowly but surely we can understand our relationship with Krishna. And then when we are realized, then there is a transcendental loving exchange. Just like in Braj, the different relationships are there. And the foremost is the relationship of the gopis. They are most dear to Krishna. They are most expert in giving pleasure to Krishna, in transcendental loving exchange. So that is the supreme position. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is no different from Radha Krishna. Ultimately he came to give that. So he came to give the process, the chanting of the holy names, and then he also gave the understanding. So knowledge is there, ordinary knowledge is there. We are not this body, we are spirit soul. The absolute truth is there. But then also, so that is known as Sambandha Gyan. So we may understand our relationship, but then we have to engage in devotional service, and then how to engage in devotional service, that is more confidential. Therefore he is mentioning here, jñānam, knowledge is given about the absolute truth, and then more confidential, how to engage in devotional service. And then most confidential is when the direct relationship with Krishna is there. As the beloveds of Krishna, the gopis, or Maria Yashoda Nanda Baba, the parental affection, Sudam, Sridam, their friendly relationship with Krishna, and even servants which are there. But they have an intimate relationship with Krishna, very close. So then how to engage in that relationship that is most confidential? So that we have to hear actually from the spiritual master who is properly situated. He will help us. So in the beginning stage we need help, but even then in the advanced stage we need help to become properly situated and to properly understand and properly engage in following the eternal associates of the Lord. And in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, especially the Brijbasis. So that relationship is given in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. But then there may be others also who are worshipping Vishnu in Vaikuntha or Ramchandra in Ayodhya. But how to practically engage in the loving exchange with either Krishna or Ram or Vishnu, that we have to learn from the spiritual master who is properly situated. So that is most confidential. In the beginning, one has some knowledge, but it is not realized, and one is still on the bodily platform. But then ultimately we have to come to the transcendental platform, the platform of the soul. We are spirit soul, we are not this body. And then engage in the transcendental loving service. And then there will be a reciprocation. So for that we need the help of the spiritual master to develop more and more, to understand more and more. It is explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, even if one is already on the advanced stage of bhav, where transcendental emotions are coming from the heart in loving exchange with Krishna, in order to develop full love for Krishna, prem, we have to associate with the premi bhaktas, with those who have prem for Krishna, pure love for Krishna, so that these are the liberated souls. They have pure love for Krishna. So we must have that association. So in physical presence, Vapu, when the spiritual master is there, or otherwise by following the instructions, Vani, the instructions of Krishna, or the spiritual master. So that is also association. When the spiritual master leaves the world, then we have to remember his words, his instructions. And it is hoped that before the spiritual master leaves the world, then we should be sufficiently purified in existence, so then we can have the direction from within the heart. So in purified consciousness, then we can take direction from Krishna or the spiritual master from the heart. So Krishna is always there directing, or the spiritual master, but if one is not yet advanced, one cannot understand exactly what Krishna is saying, what the spiritual master is saying. Therefore we need the devotee who is present physically. So sometimes if the spiritual master has left and one is not yet sufficiently purified, then one should try to have the association of the devotees, the disciples, the god brothers of one spiritual master who are more advanced. But even those who are highly advanced, they will always take shelter internally then of the spiritual master or the associates of the Lord, in order to gain entrance into the pastimes of the Lord in a confidential service, direct service, direct transcendental exchange with Krishna. in the highest realm in Golok. So usually even if we get perfection in this lifetime, but then we have to, after giving up the body, we will go to one of the universes where Krishna is present. And there in the association of the associates of the Lord, the gopis or the gopas, then one can be engaged in the service of Krishna. And then one is fully liberated. And one will not have to take birth again in this material world. But of course, and sometimes Krishna is coming and then the eternal associates are coming also. But they're never, just like Krishna is never under the modes of material nature. Krishna is always transcendental, He's the source of everything. So similarly, pure devotees, the associates of Krishna, they're also transcendental even when they're coming to this world. But that only the advanced devotees, they can recognize, they can see. So once if one is liberated, then one will not be conditioned again. So when we have the human form of life, we should try our best to make as much advancement as possible in this lifetime. And and we should hope and pray that we may attain perfection this lifetime. And it is possible, although it's not so easy, because the external energy is strong. And every second actually we have the choice. Every second. One time Prabhupada was sitting on the Vyasasana and he was saying, every second you have the choice. You can go one side towards Krishna, or you can go other sides towards Maya. So every second we have the choice. So every second we have to actually look towards Krishna and don't look towards the external energy. So if one is not completely pure, if one is not strong yet, then sometimes one is then influenced by the external energy. So one has to be careful and one has to deliberate. And one should try to be mindful and try to be conscious and deliberate on this transcendental subject matter. And then one has to pray to Krishna also to help us, to Guru to help us, so that we may be properly situated, so that we always choose voluntarily to serve Krishna, to surrender to Krishna. And then so we have to practice, and so we must have this proper understanding. So that is important to have this transcendental knowledge, the confidential knowledge. And then, so we may be able to remain transcendently situated. So we have to constantly endeavor, but then we have to pray for the mercy of the Lord also. We endeavor to engage in devotional service, and almost constantly we have to pray also to Krishna, so we may be properly situated, so we may not be under the influence of the external energy. So as long as one is not fully liberated, so there's a constant struggle. We have to constantly struggle. But there's no harm. So because being in this world, anyhow we have to act, so we have to act for Krishna's pleasure. Even if there is a struggle. So we struggle, but for Krishna's pleasure also, and we do everything for Krishna's pleasure. And otherwise also, if one is not surrendered to Krishna, there is a struggle in this material world, struggle for existence. But that is not the proper situation for the jivas, for the conditioned soul. So we should try to make the right choice of always trying to serve Krishna, to do what Krishna wants. Even though there's a struggle is there with the modes of material nature, and then unwanted things are there in the heart, or material desires, but then we have to try to to remain transcendental or try to tolerate these desires, material desires which may come, the unwanted things. And by being always engaged in devotional service, so then we can remain unaffected, and then we can be fixed, and then we get a taste for devotional activities. And then we can become fully attached and attracted to Krishna. And then we can become detached and not attracted to this material world. And once one is liberated, then there is no fear of being conditioned. But even the pure devotees, when they're in the material world, they feel the material energy. But because they are pure and they're always doing what Krishna wants, so they are protected. But they can also feel the external energy, and then they will pray also to Krishna, please protect me from this external energy. But the advanced devotees, they will never fall, because Krishna will protect them. And because they are praying to Krishna, so please protect me, and Krishna will protect them. So every second we have a choice, so we have to choose to surrender to Krishna, to do what Krishna wants, voluntarily and gladly. Take shelter of Krishna. So personally I prefer the name taking shelter, or it's the saying of taking shelter of Krishna. Because surrender, so just like if there's a war and two armies are there and fighting, and one is getting the upper hand, and then the other side, they have to surrender unwillingly, but what to do, they are more strong, then they have to surrender. So but if one is willingly and then taking shelter, that is the better position, with love, taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. So we should try, and we should pray, and then Krishna will help us also. The spiritual master, the Vaishnavas are there to help, but we have to call out for them. Even Manashiksha Raghunath Goswami has also prayed in this way, instructions to the mind. Because so many difficulties are there, mostly from our own mind, consciousness. So lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, envy are there, coming from one's own mind. But one has to try to understand that these are only the workings of the mind, and I should not listen to that. And I should Manashiksha, give some instructions to the mind. My dear mind, I'm praying to you, I'm begging you, please, you try to remember Guru and take shelter of the spiritual master. Pray to the devotees, take shelter of the holy names and the Gayatri mantras, take shelter of Radha Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami. So instructing the mind also. And then if the difficulty is there, then one has to call out, hey Krishna, please help me. Ha Gauranga, Jai Gurudev, Jai Prabhupada, please help me. I'm in difficult situation, so we have to cry out. Just like a child is there and the difficulties are there, other boys are bothering sometimes the child, then he will call out to his father and mother, please help, please help. And then he will get the help. So we have to call out, and when we call out, and Guru Gauranga and Krishna are there to help us, and they want us actually. They want us to take shelter of them. So if you call out and for help, then Krishna will help. Mahaprabhu will help, Guru will help. So we have to try to choose to serve Krishna, and then we have to call out when material desires are there. When the mind is bothering in the form of lust, greed and anger, then we have to call out to Krishna, please help me, knowing that this is just the workings of the external energy. Hare Krishna. Any question? Yes.
You have just mentioned regarding confidential knowledge.
Yes.
So, can you please explain a little bit more what is confidence? What is
Yes.
confidence?
Yes. So here Prabhupada in a simple way is explaining about Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. So beginning we have to understand the absolute truth is there, and so then there are some impersonalists are there who say the absolute truth has no form. So that is the beginning stage of knowledge, understanding we are not this body, we are spirit soul. You have to understand we are spirit soul, and there is a relationship with the absolute truth. So there may be Brahman or super soul, or then Bhagavan. So that is preliminary knowledge. But then more confidential is when you hear that we have to execute the devotional service or spiritual activities. So that is known as Abhideya. First some band is there. We have to know that we are spirit by nature, and the relationship is there with the absolute truth. So in the even very beginning, so it may be impersonal, but then when you become purified, you may understand that everything is personal ultimately. So then we have to try to follow this process, sadhana bhakti, the process by which we can realize the subject matter. So that is a little more confidential. But then most confidential is when it comes to the platform of realization, vigyan, or prayojan tattva, prayojan, the necessity. So that is in regards to, well, for example, especially now Sampradaya, it's in regards to the platform of spontaneous devotional service in Braj, because without a spontaneous devotional service you can never go to Braj. We cannot enter the pastimes of Krishna in Braj without spontaneous devotional service. So how to perform that is more confidential. So that is, for example, now we do sadhana bhakti, following rules and regulations and understanding the Krishna Supreme Lord, we are the servants of Krishna, and then we engage in devotional service. So that is the process. So that is not told to everyone. So beginning stage also, we just explain to the people that you have to give up eating meat and smoking, drinking, and the Supreme Lord is there. But we may not say more because they are not yet able to understand. First they have to give up all the nonsense activities, then you can give some more knowledge, so it is more confidential. How to engage in the devotional service. And then, for example, so then we get initiated, and then we engage in devotional service, then we get Brahman initiation, then you can worship the deities. So in the beginning it is not immediately told. And then further on, when we have practiced that, then more is actually required so that we may come to the highest stage of pure devotional service. So that is in our sampradaya, so that is, as Mahaprabhu also told, that without following the footsteps of the eternal associates of Krishna and Braj, we cannot go to Golok Vrindavan, to the highest realm. So that is more confidential, to engage in the spontaneous platform. And that knowledge is not immediately given, that knowledge, confidential knowledge. First we have to follow the rules and regulations, and then we have to engage in devotional service. And then when we are well situated, then we may learn more about how to engage in the spontaneous devotional service. like the bridge buses. So Nanda Baba, as Prabhupada has explained in the 10th canto, those who want to attain the position, just like Maria Yashoda, means in parental affection, then we should carefully study the service of Maria Yashoda, how she was taking care of Krishna, and in which mood she was taking care of Krishna. So that we have to study. And if we see in our heart that we have an attraction towards Krishna as a friend, like Sudam, Sridham, Madhumangal, then we read about their loving exchange with Krishna, the friends of Krishna. And if we have some inclination towards the highest relationship, like the gopis, then we have to hear about the gopis. And how they were serving Krishna, what was their consciousness, what is the mood of the gopis. And then even further on, so for that purpose Prabhupada gave the Nectar of Devotion, where we can read about the different platforms of devotional service, from Shraddha to Prem, and then the different relationships with Krishna. And then especially for the highest relationship, that is the Gopi Bhav, the Madhurya Bhav, then he has given Ujjval Nilamani. So that is specifically for those who are then trying to enter into the realm of the loving exchange, just like the gopis have. So there, because the different gopis are there with different moods. So in purified consciousness, with the help of the spiritual master, then we can try to understand that more. So we can become absorbed in that, and then we can attain perfection. So that is the most confidential knowledge for us as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, is when engaging in the spontaneous devotional service. So, but for that we need to be in purified consciousness. We must have followed for some time the principles of devotional service and Vaidhi Bhakti, following the rules and regulations, but for the pleasure of the Lord also. And then after, when we have done that for some time, then by the mercy of the Spirit Master, in purified consciousness, then we can come to the stage of spontaneous devotional service. So which is known as Raganuga Bhakti. Rag means, Anuga means follow the Ragatmik Jan, those who are spontaneously engaged in the loving service with Krishna. So that is most confidential, so that we have to hear from the Spirit Master. So Krishna is indicating, and then Prabhupada, to some extent he has mentioned, but he is not giving all the details here, because mostly it is not yet applicable for the devotees who are just starting. But he is mentioning, so that knowledge is also coming through the Spiritual Master, the bona fide representative. So Krishna is indicating, and we should understand that Krishna ultimately is giving everything. He is Adi Guru. And is there in the heart also, Chaitya Guru, trying to guide us, to help us. But in the beginning we are not able to understand. Therefore we have to take shelter of the Spiritual Master, and then we engage in devotional service, and then slowly but surely we gain more knowledge, and then we can attain the most confidential knowledge. And then everything will be revealed in the heart also. Okay? Is that clear?
So in devotional service, Raganuga devotional service is the highest order of service.
Raganuga, for the devotees practicing, it is the highest.
Okay.
For those practicing.
Highest.
Yes.
Spontaneous. That is called.
What's that?
Raganuga is called spontaneous.
The Raganuga means that is spontaneous devotional service. Yeah. When one is purified in consciousness, and then one will spontaneously want to serve Krishna. And then one will follow the footsteps of the eternal associates of Krishna in Braj. And then, so that is the highest, and by doing that, but then there's a higher stage. That is known as Bhav Bhakti. When one is purified in consciousness, and one is situated on the transcendental platform, realizing that I am not this body, I am spirit soul. And then the relationship with Krishna will be revealed, either as a friend, or having a parental affection towards Krishna, or conjugal relationship. So that is revealed, that is then the highest stage actually. Raganuga is just the beginning of the higher stage. So just like, for example, you go to, well, first there's the playway for the children, and kindergarten, and then they go to school, primary school, and then secondary school.
So Raganuga is the basic.
No, basic is Vaidhi Bhakti, following rules and regulation. That is basic. That is primary education. First you learn A, B, C, and then in India, A, Ka, Ka, and like this, A, I, I, U, and then Ka, Kha, Ga, Gha. That you have to learn. And then you can write. And then you can read and write. Without learning the alphabet, how you can read and write? Not possible. So the basic is actually the devotional service in practice, known as Vaidhi Bhakti, following rules and regulations. And then later on, the secondary school is there, when you follow then, when you have learned how to write, how to read and write, and then you can read poetry also, and then you can write poetry also and give some essay. And then you can go to the college, high school, and then you can go to university, and then you can become a teacher or professor also. So that is then the highest stage. So Raganuga, that is like the secondary school. And then when you are well established in Bhav Bhakti, that is actually like a university. Then you almost attain it perfection, and then you can teach others also.
That is
Like Bhav Bhakti, yeah.
That is the topmost.
At topmost.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Any other question? Yes.
Yes, this last paragraph says that one is free to deliberate on this subject as far as the intelligence goes.
Yes.
So, yeah, so like from our childhood we study moral science, then in Krishna consciousness we have the option of studying Sanskrit.
Uh-huh.
People do PhD
Right.
in religion. Indian government even facilitates, gives Lakshmi.
Yeah, yes.
But then it takes so much time, you know. So by the time, I mean, this is deliberation on the subject matter, so that one has a very strong faith in the Supreme Lord. Because that faith becomes the basis for one's rapid advancement in Krishna consciousness. Because I am also struggling with faith, frankly, anyway. So, but we know Krishna consciousness is a scientific process. We can.
Yes. Actually, only when you're pure, you will have strong faith. If you're not pure, you cannot have full faith. Not possible. But faith is there, and then based on the faith, then you engage in devotional service, and the more pure one becomes, the more strong is the faith. And then one can fully surrender. If you don't have full faith, you cannot fully surrender. If you are not truly humble, then you can also, humble means actually true humility is when you are realized that I am an infinitesimal part and parcel of Krishna. So the struggle is there, actually for everyone, till one is perfect actually, till one is realized there's a struggle. So we have to just continue struggling. You have to continuously you have to struggle. But actually if you engage in devotional service, even though there's a struggle, at the same time there will be also, first of all, the help will be there from the Supreme Lord, and because He wants us to become fully self-realized, to be fully engaged in His seva, so He will help us also. And then by engaging in devotional service already, then also there will be some happiness will be there, some bliss will be there. So therefore an intelligent person will be engaged in devotional service. Yes, we have to understand that the struggle is there, and that is unavoidable. But we must have faith in the process, and one has to continue. And then the more one continues, the more one becomes purified, the more the faith will be strong also. And then the struggle will be a little less. The more one is advanced, the struggle will be a little less, but struggle will be there. But we always have to be thoughtful, and we have to deliberate and think about the subject matter, so we may be able to advance more and more, and so we may be able to overcome the difficulties which are always there in spiritual life. And so it is a gradual process, and in one sense we say it is easy, you chant Hare Krishna and be happy at the same time. So it is not always so easy. And but if you are dedicated and if you have this strong determination and the enthusiasm and the patience, then we can advance slowly but surely, and ultimately success will be there for the devotee who is endeavoring constantly. So, anything else you wanted to?
No, you said right. Yeah.
Anything else?
I have a question.
Yeah.
In the verse here it says, by right discrimination one should look at according to the order of the super soul. So, at what stage are you able to really listen to the super soul, and what is that right discrimination?
So when one is pure, then one can listen to the super soul, and then one will know exactly what to do and what not to do. So if one is not pure, then one is not able to hear the super soul. So therefore then we have to take shelter of the spiritual master, because the spiritual master is pure and is in contact with the super soul, is in contact with Krishna. And then we will be able to advance further with the help of the spiritual master. He will help us to discriminate, and he will help us also to do the right thing, or to go in this direction. So unless and until we are not pure or highly advanced, so then we have to take shelter of the spiritual master. For example, the platform of anatta-nivritti is there. So when the anarthas, unwanted things, are there in the heart, so on that platform, actually we cannot really understand, we cannot hear the super soul. So we have to have the help of the spiritual master. But once we are firmly fixed and purified in consciousness, nishta, ruchi, then it is more easy to also see or hear the super soul or Krishna, what he wants us to do. By deliberation also, by being thoughtful and discrimination, then we will understand. If it is Krishna who is directing us or dictating something in the heart, or if it is the external energy. And then even the higher stages of Sakti or Bhav, then one is automatically doing what Krishna wants. And because one is practically pure, completely pure. Only very little contamination is there as Sakti and then Bhav. Then automatically one will do what Krishna wants, what the super soul is saying. And for the devotees, it is more Krishna than the super soul. We pay respect to the super soul, but we do what Krishna wants. Of course, ultimately, super soul is just the expanded form of Krishna to help the conditioned soul. And Krishna is performing pastimes, but we want to see Krishna. Therefore, we want to take guidance from Krishna, and then Krishna will reciprocate. But if we are not on that high level, so the nishta or ruchi is there, so then we can understand to some extent, but then we have to be still careful, because the external energy is there, and so sometimes it is not very clear if it is now the super soul or if it is actually the external energy, which is the more we advance, the more actually, so the tests are more difficult, just like you go to school. In the beginning, the exams For the beginning student, the exams are always difficult, but from the point of view of an intelligent person, we can understand in the primary school, then the exams are easier. And then in the secondary is more difficult, and the university is most difficult. But the more we advance, the more the child is growing up also. He has the intelligence, discrimination, and he has the help of the teacher also, by which he can understand. And then he can solve the problems, or he can pass the examination. So the more we advance, the more we can better understand if it is Krishna directing or if it is the external energy. So, but if one is on the platform of anatta nivritti, so that is still so many unwanted things are there in the heart, material desires are there, and then one will not clearly understand what to do and what not to do. And therefore, at that stage, you must be in the association with the devotees who are more advanced. Otherwise, it will be that the advancement will be very slow because of the influence of the modes of material nature, and we will not know what to do and what not to do. But once one is fixed and the consciousness is more purified, then it is easier to see what Krishna wants us to do, in which way to go left or right, that it will be more easy to understand when one is fixed. And because on that platform, so the devotee will also deliberate, he will be thoughtful, and then he will pray, and then there's a reciprocation from Krishna, so that one can advance more easily. Okay?
Okay, so if your spiritual master is not on the planet, then it means you have to take shelter of another advanced devotee.
Yes. If the Diksha Guru is not there, then you have to take shelter of another advanced devotee. He will be Shiksha Guru. He will give guidance, and usually, he should be in the same mood as the Diksha Guru, the Shiksha Guru. And of course, in our society, we all want to go to Vrindavan. So basically, is all the advanced devotees in ISKCON, they have the mood which Prabhupada gave, and which is ultimately also Sankirtan movement, distributing books and giving Krishna consciousness to others. And then the eternal aspect of cultivation is their Braj Bhakti, to enter Golok. And then even there on the higher level, as our acharyas are, they are in the Gopi Bhav, Madhurya Bhav. So, so the Diksha Guru, so he is giving instruction, but if he is living this world, then we, if we are not yet sufficiently advanced, then we have to take shelter of a Shiksha Guru, who is on the same line as the Diksha Guru, which is usually there in our society. And then we may advance further. Okay? Anything else? Okay, so we stop here. So we have some prasad for everyone. Srila Prabhupada ki.